Good morning,นะครับ, everyone. On the last class, what we studied on the last class was about the index function,นะครับ. Okay, let me just show you for what we learned on the last class. On the last class, we talked about the VLOOKUP function,นะครับ. You can see that for the VLOOKUP, we also have like two different types of looking up. The first one is the exact match in the VLOOKUP, and the other one is the closest match in VLOOKUP. You can see that when you have to do the VLOOKUP in terms of the exact match, okay, let me just like show you for the information that we have got first. For the exact match that we have got, the way in order to use exact match is that whenever you need to have the VLOOKUP, the range lookup, you have to specify it as false. And when you specify it as a false one, so when we started using our VLOOKUP with the exact match, the things that we have to set it up is that for the range lookup, it must be the false value. So that means the thing that VLOOKUP will do is that it will just like scan through your table array, according to the lookup value that you specify. For example, in here, we have to find the tin tuna. The things that you have to do with your data in the table array is that the first column is the column that VLOOKUP will be used to match with a lookup value here. For example, if you would like to search for the tin tuna, the first column, I mean, for the whole table here, it must be sorted ascendingly. That means you have to sort it from A to Z in here. The things that VLOOKUP will do is that it will match with the data in the first column of your table array. When you have to specify, or when you specify the range lookup to be false, or when you have to find the exact match, it will just like try to find to match the tin tuna alphabetically with this column one at a time. So in this one, you can see that when it reaches tin tuna, the exact match will stop and report the data in the specified column in here. In this one, we will just like talk about the column cost in here. Okay, let me just like fix this problem a bit. It must be here. Okay, yeah, okay. So in this one, you can see that whenever we talk about the exact match, normally we use exact match whenever we would like to search for text. When we would like to search for text, normally we use exact match. But if it is in case of the closest match, it's different. For the closest match in VLOOKUP, we use it in order to search for the data, especially when we have to search for like the numbers in range of numbers. For example, in this one, when we talk about like the score and the grade of the student, if you remember, on the last class I asked you to prepare or to find the grade of the student for us. The things that happen is that I gave you the original table that is here. You can see that the original table cannot be matched with any VLOOKUP for sure, because when you would like to search for the score of a student, okay, let me just like delete some more row column first. Okay, in here you can see that the score that you would like to compare, the score that you would like to compare, with the value on the table in here. You can see that the score is the number. Score is a number, while the score that I put on the original table was text. 0 to 59 is text because it's left aligned by itself. While the value for the score of text, 59.5 is right aligned, is a number. So number and text cannot be comparable. the thing that you have to do นะครับ is that we had to separate นะครับ to make the minimum score and maximum score to be the real number นะครับ not the text anymore, and then it will be comparable. Then when we compare, we just like make this table นะครับ this yellow table นะครับ okay, let me just change the color a bit. Okay, the green table here นะครับ as our table array. You can see that the value นะครับ for example the score 59.5 will be compared with the minimum score in the column in the first column of our table array นะครับ in here. Okay, let's see. It's this one. Okay, we compare it นะครับ with our table array that is from C65 นะครับ to E72 นะครับ in here. So it will compare one at a time. So the things that happen is that 59.5 นะครับ is greater than 0 นะครับ 59.5 is greater than our value 59.5 is greater than 0, then it just like jump to the next row นะครับ right now 59.5 will be compared with 60, and you can see that when you just like use the 59.5 compare with 60, 59.5 is less than 60, then นะครับ VLOOKUP will stop and go back to the previous row. That's why it returned F to us. You can see that in here in the reality, if you want to compare the number, like for example 59.5 here นะครับ, this value itself, it is comparing literally นะครับ 59.5 is less than 60 for sure. Then the things that you have to make it right is that you have to round this number first. In order to round, you just like put round followed by the number. In here is 59.5 นะครับ, with the number of decimal point that is 0. When you just like round it already, it will be 0. It will be 60 like this. Once you compare 60 with 60 นะครับ, it's match. When 60 compare with 60, they are equal นะครับ, then VLOOKUP will stop and show the grade of this student as the dog นะครับ this is the correct one นะครับ okay, so this one you have to be careful if you have to use VLOOKUP and compare with the number นะครับ it can be wrong if you just like don't round the number นะครับ that's why you have to round it first if you want to use a VLOOKUP with the score like this. But if it is just like, for example, if you remember the HLOOKUP, in here the HLOOKUP here นะครับ for the best one นะครับ if you round it นะครับ you can see that it depends on the accuracy of the data that you have got นะครับ in here. Okay. Sometimes if just like one decimal point does matter, then you don't round it นะครับ. For example, if you say that, okay, in this one 18.5 to 24.9 นะครับ, the BMI has like some decimal numbers as well like this นะครับ, you don't round it because if you round, for example, if that person get the BMI as 18.5 and then you round, it will be 19, something like that. Or if that person has just like 24.9 and then you round นะครับ, it is 25, then you can see that the body type is changed from normal weight to be overweight straight away. So it depends นะครับ, you have to check on the data นะครับ before you make a decision whether you would like to round that numbers or not นะครับ. That was like we talk about the VLOOKUP. After that, we talk about the next function in lookup reference, that is index นะครับ for the index is a function that we just like pick the value from the table according to the location that you specify. For example, if you have like a table like this and you want to get the data in a green cell here, you know that it's located in the row number 5 of this table นะครับ, then you can just like specify that, okay, this table consists of 5 rows times 1 column นะครับ. In here, if you want to get the data from the 5th row นะครับ first column here, you can use like the index straight away. The difference between index and the VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP is that for index, it doesn't need to have the lookup value, but you need the location of the value that you want to have. In the index function, it has two different list of arguments นะครับ and then I told you already that whenever you have the function นะครับ let's see index function like this, and then the list of argument is dot dot dot, it means that you can just like go inside this function and then you see more than one possible list of arguments นะครับ in here. So for two different possible list of arguments นะครับ it is like this. The first list of arguments is used when you say that you have one table นะครับ in your consideration, while the second list of arguments นะครับ is used whenever you have more than one table in the list นะครับ when you have to specify. So when you just like have to specify, let's talk about the one table นะครับ first it's like this, you have one table นะครับ example 1 example 2 they are one table นะครับ but the size is different นะครับ. The first table is 5 row by 1 column, and the second example is 5 row นะครับ by 2 columns. In this one นะครับ in this example we say that we want to get the data from row 5 column 1. The way that you have to do is that you need to specify array first, and the array is the location of the table here. Once you specify already นะครับ you specify row number 5 and column number 1, and you can see that the result is showing number 8 for us. This is like the first example. Second example is in the similar way around, but in this one we want the data from the 4th row นะครับ second column. Then when you specify the when you specify, this one is wrong. Okay, let me just like do it again. Example number 2, we want the data from 3rd row นะครับ second column. The way to do is the same นะครับ we just like go to specify the first list of argument that we have one table only, specify the range of the table นะครับ and enter row number 3 column number 2, and then you get 9 as the result. Lastly นะครับ we had the table in the range format นะครับ in here assume that we have 3 different tables นะครับ and you want the data from these 3 tables นะครับ for example if we say that the first table is the sales นะครับ is the sales amounts. Second table might be like commission rate. Third one might be tax rate, let's say, and you want to calculate for the commission amount that the salesperson should get. You may have to use the data from these 3 tables. Then in this case, we have to use like the index function with the multiple tables in here. So how do you gonna do that? You have to specify นะครับ the arguments นะครับ okay, you have to specify the arguments that okay here let's see, suppose นะครับ from example 3.1 I want to get the data from table 3 row 2 column 2. Then firstly you have to specify which table is table number 1, which one is number 2, which one is number 3. Assume that I say that this one, okay, I have the order of the table like this. So whenever I have to use the index function นะครับ I have to choose the second list of arguments. After that you just specify the area that I have got นะครับ Don't forget that in order to specify the reference นะครับ or the range or the location of the table, you have to use นะครับ you have to use parentheses นะครับ to specify นะครับ the array นะครับ and then the range of each table you use colon นะครับ to specify in here. For example in here I said that okay my first table is here นะครับ and then I comma นะครับ put the area of second table comma put the area of the third table. When I get like these three tables as a reference already, I specify that what row, what column, and what area. What area means what table นะครับ in this reference that you have got. This one is table 3, right? So the row number is row number 2, column number 2 of table 3 in here. I specify 2, 2, 3 นะครับ row number 2, column number 2, and area number 3. The formula will return number 3 นะครับ value 3 for me นะครับ this is the value in this location in this table นะครับ and then I ask you to just like do the value นะครับ from these three tables all together and then sum it นะครับ we get the value from first table นะครับ 5 plus 7 plus 3 like this. Then the way that we specify was that okay, we did like couple of ways. The first one นะครับ you may just like you may have like these three values separately, and after that you just sum them to get 15 นะครับ. Some of the people นะครับ some of the people may just say that okay, can I use sum function? Yes, you can. You may just like use the sum function นะครับ of like these three index values, or the last one นะครับ somebody may just like use 3 indexes and then use the plus symbol to add these 3 values together. You get like 15 นะครับ, the same thing. Okay, this was the thing that we studied from the last class นะครับ about the index function. So today นะครับ I'll talk about the next function that we have to learn, that is the function match นะครับ function match. Okay. Function match is like different from what to say, is different from lookup function like we look up h lookup นะครับ because it doesn't need to have the lookup value. It's different from index function is in that index function we know the location นะครับ we know the location and then we can look up the value, while match is different นะครับ it's opposite way around. We have value, we search for the location instead นะครับ because sometimes นะครับ in some situation you cannot use lookup function นะครับ but you want to find this value นะครับ in the specific table where is it located, so that you can use the location for other purposes. That's why you may have to use match function instead นะครับ in order to find the location. Because if you use you can see that h lookup, v lookup, and index function, you cannot find the location for sure. At most, the index function you have to specify the location, but it is not a function to search for the location. That's why we have to talk about the match function. Now let me just give you an example of the data first, and after that we will talk about the match function that can be used with this one. Assume that we have the data like this. This is the table that we have got. Assume that this is the table that we have got. Firstly, if you would like to talk about the function match, what does function match look like? Okay, so I go to insert function button and then I type match. Match is a function that consists of 3 arguments. The first argument is lookup value. Lookup value is the value that you want to search in this table. And then lookup array means the location of the table. And the third one is match type. match type นะครับ is the logical value นะครับ that tell us that whether you would like to have the exact match or closest match นะครับ now I'll explain to you next on. For this function, the match function returns the relative position of an item in an array that matches a specified value in the specified order นะครับ actually นะครับ match we can use the match function นะครับ to return a value. The value that match can return นะครับ is just one number only. So that means match นะครับ can find the value นะครับ can find a specific row number from one column table นะครับ or it can find the column number from one row table only นะครับ so that means if you have like the table with like many columns with many rows, you can't do it นะครับ you then in this case you can see that I specify just one column table only นะครับ okay now for example นะครับ in here suppose I want to find นะครับ value a if you would like to find out the matching column นะครับ in here for the value a นะครับ what should we do in this one? The way that we do is that we have to prepare our table to have just like one column first นะครับ but you can have many rows like this. Okay, now I go to match function, look up value in here, assume that I type a my suggestion นะครับ if it is a text you should surround that text by double quote like this นะครับ look up array you specify this table ครับ now match type let's see ครับ match type what are they match type we have three possible values นะครับ okay 1 0 or -1 นะครับ normally we just use 0 to specify the exact match นะครับ to specify the exact match. In this one when we specify normally นะครับ I just like in this class I just use the exact match to match with this number นะครับ so you can see that right now the formula result is showing number 3 for us นะครับ number 3 in here นะครับ number 3 in here means that it is column number นะครับ in here you can see sorry row number not the column number in here. This one it's row number. You can see that okay for this one นะครับ it's row number 1, number 2 and number 3, number 4 and number 5. You can see that right now นะครับ a is located in row number 3 of this table นะครับ in here. So the next example is that okay if you would like to match นะครับ or if you would like to find e in our table นะครับ okay let's do again in here. So we do the same thing นะครับ in order to find the we just like go to match function นะครับ specify value that we want to search for นะครับ and in this table array นะครับ match type is 0 นะครับ okay. Then you can see that it shows number 5. That means this one นะครับ is located in row number 5 of this table นะครับ so this is the match function นะครับ okay. After we have match function like this นะครับ okay let me just like talk about the example of index and match. Sometimes นะครับ in some cases we may use index and match together นะครับ instead of using VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP นะครับ now let me just give you an example how can we use index and match together นะครับ okay if we have the data like this suppose our company นะครับ is running the bakery and we just like do the produce the cookies this table tell us about the production of the cookies the unit the unit is 1,000 pieces in these 5 months in these 5 months. So what are we going to do for this index and match function here. In this one, assume that I want to find, we would like to find the production of cookies in a specific month, in here. Suppose I say that I type March. Okay, so if you have to use the lookup reference function for sure, the first one you think about is VLOOKUP, right? Because the data that you would like to search for the lookup value is month. Month is span in the same column. If you would like to search for, you have to search vertically. That's why in this one we think about the VLOOKUP first. If we just like want to use VLOOKUP, okay, this one the way that we do, okay, this one if I use VLOOKUP this is easy, right? Okay, we just like go to VLOOKUP and click OK. Now lookup value is this month, right? C146. Table array is this table, right? B140 to C144. Column index now means the column that will return cookies production. It's column number 2 of this table. Range lookup, I want the exact match only. So then I specify false. Okay. In this one, it shows us 37, right? So this is VLOOKUP that we use. What about April? It shows 67 for you. It seems like in this one, there's no problem. There's no problem in using VLOOKUP. But sometimes VLOOKUP cannot be used. What is the reason? The reason is because if you remember, the limitation of VLOOKUP is that everything must be sorted ascendingly. But in this one, you can see that, okay, luckily, the first column is month. The month in here, Excel will process and know that this is not just the basic text. J doesn't come before F like this, because this is the month. That's why it just like show you the correct value. But if it is some other values, for example, name of the person, with cookie production, that I mean, like for example, we say that okay, each baker can just like produce cookies in different amount, and then if you say that okay, these names cannot be sorted by the name because you may have like the ID of the baker in front and it's sorted by the number of bakers, then you cannot just like you cannot sort the name of the baker. So VLOOKUP regularly cannot be used in here. So if you say that in some cases you cannot use VLOOKUP or HLOOKUP straight away, the way that we may do is that we use index and match to help instead. How can we use index and match instead? Let me just like talk about concept first. In here, we know the month, right? And then we would like to find cookies production. For example, this one we know April, and then we will find the cookies. Number of pieces. But in here, in order to find cookies production, we have to know first that okay, where April is located in this table. Then we just like use the index function to find the matching value for cookies production. So firstly, I will just use the index function นะครับ to find out the value. For the index, I have this is table นะครับ this is array first, comma นะครับ row number นะครับ I don't know in here, and column number 2 นะครับ because I want to get the cookies production นะครับ it's column number 2. In order to find the row number where April is located, I will use match function to find นะครับ to find the what to say month April. For the match function in here, I just specify the table array นะครับ in column B. So in this one, it is from for my one it's B, sorry C. I'm sorry, just like write the wrong one. For the month นะครับ it is in column B. It's in B140 to B144 นะครับ. And then I just want to know the value April where it's located นะครับ and then the logical value is 0. Okay. In here, when I know already that okay, April is located in row number 1, 2, 3, 4. I just like substitute this one with 4, and then I get the value of production. Okay. Now let me just like separate match and index first, and then I combine it later. Okay. In here, suppose I say that okay, in here, I just want to find the row number where April is located. I use match function in here. I go to match, and then I just look up value. Sorry, I just switch them wrongly. I have to put April first. April is here. C146. Look up array is this column. I want to find where April is located. Match type is 0. In this formula, it returns number 4. Then it's row number 4, right? Okay. After that, okay, in here I said using I'll use the index function to help right now to find number of cookies production. So if I'm doing everything correct, the answer should be shown as 67 here. Then I just go to index function. Use the first format because I have one table only. Array is here. This table. Row number. I use row number that I find from the previous function, C48. And then I want column number 2 because cookies is located in number 2. Then you can see that the intermediate result is showing 67 for us. Then it shows 67,000 pieces for us. So you can see that in here, I use match to find out the row number. And after that, I use index to find out the value that I want. Then I just copy this function for you first. For the match function, it's like this. And index function. Now, I will combine these two functions together. I'll use match inside the index function. It should look like this. Okay, I just put index inside the notepad first, and then I just copy match function. so for the match functionนะครับ I'll just like use it to substitute the row number in here here. So right now you can see that instead of writing the row number directly, we have match function นะครับ replacing the row number instead in here. Okay. All right. So I'll just use this function นะครับ inside here นะครับ inside my Excel นะครับ This is my index and match function that I use to replace VLOOKUP นะครับ Okay. So from this example, do you have any questions? In the exam นะครับ if we don't specify that what lookup function that you have to use, you can use either index match or VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP นะครับ it's up to you. But if we specify that you have to use VLOOKUP or HLOOKUP, then you just like use the exact function that we specify in the exam นะครับ All right. If you don't have any question นะครับ I want you to do one example by yourself. Uh, 37. I want you to find out นะครับ I want you to find out the month that we can produce 37,000 pieces of cookies นะครับ using index and match function together. Okay. In this one นะครับ I give you 3 minutes to do that นะครับ Everyone just try ครับ Find months that we produce 37,000 นะครับ pieces of cookies นะครับ When you get the answer already, type your answer in the chat box นะครับ you don't need to type that it is March นะครับ but you just type the formula for me. I want to know the formula that we use to find นะครับ the March month นะครับ Okay. Who did please use index and match together ครับ You answer already, but it's just like index function only. So time's up นะครับ everyone. So now let me just like show you how you're gonna do it. Okay. In this one, if we would like to know the month, we have to just like plan first that, okay, whenever we would like to know the month in this one, we know that number of pieces is 37. Firstly, we have to find where 37 is located, and then you just like find the matching month in here. So when you just like say that, okay, in this one, I just type, okay, I will use, I will find the row number, where 37 is located. This one I use match function นะครับ so for match function I go to match นะครับ and then I look up value 37 here นะครับ look up array is this table. I'm sorry, just put the wrong one. Look up value is 37 นะครับ look up array is this table and match type is 0 นะครับ exact match. Then it just like we find row number 3, right? Okay, and then I use index function นะครับ to find month. in here นะครับ if we just use just like separated index function นะครับ from like index and match it will work like this array here นะครับ we want to get row number here and then column number 1 something like that and then we get match right okay but if we want to use index and match function together นะครับ it work like this we say that okay the outside is the index function นะครับ we want to find the number นะครับ the first list of arguments นะครับ array is this table นะครับ okay row number here I use match function instead I use the match function นะครับ in order to find out the value นะครับ I find 37 นะครับ from this list ครับ type is 0 and then column number that I want to have to get the money is column number 1 then I get March นะครับ as the answer as well นะครับ in here so this is my index function ครับ that I get ครับ okay right okay then นะครับ any question for this example ครับ when we combine index and match together all right if you don't have any questions นะครับ now let's talk about the next topic the next topic that we have to know นะครับ is about pivot table นะครับ so the things that I want you to do is that I want you to create a new sheet นะครับ and name it as pivot table pivot table นะครับ is a table that we turn the data into a specific direction that you want นะครับ pivot table here so now นะครับ firstly you need to get the data file first actually I also have the data file in on e-learning as well นะครับ but I just like get it for you in the what to say chat box so that it will be faster นะครับ but for anyone who cannot receive my file from chat box นะครับ please open up our e-learning นะครับ and then just like scroll to see the sum if s filter pivot table data file นะครับ it's over there okay just one below okay now the file is sent already นะครับ let me just open up that file for you okay this is the file นะครับ that we get นะครับ this is the file that we get from the e-learning นะครับ from the e-learning okay so in this one นะครับ we will import นะครับ we will copy this file นะครับ into our my first book นะครับ the name of the file is sum if filter data นะครับ this is the file that we have to use so to copy this file นะครับ into our my first book the my first book is here นะครับ okay I will just like go to right click นะครับ on the sheet in here is sheet 1 นะครับ we rename it first rename it as pivot data นะครับ pivot data ครับ I will use the pivot data instead okay right click on the pivot data tab นะครับ choose move or copy นะครับ choose move or copy choose create a copy and after that you just click นะครับ drop down list to the book my first book นะครับ file that we have got and then click OK okay let me do it again นะครับ in this one นะครับ I rename it as pivot data first นะครับ for the file that you downloaded right click choose move or copy after that you click create a copy นะครับ and from the drop down list นะครับ it said to book you choose my first book นะครับ of yours and then click OK when you get this file already นะครับ in as a new worksheet นะครับ of your my first book นะครับ in here นะครับ you get the my first book นะครับ in here you get pivot data here we don't use the sheet pivot table นะครับ because now we download the data already นะครับ I delete the pivot table out นะครับ you see the pivot data table นะครับ in here so what do we have to learn for the pivot data นะครับ table here the pivot data here นะครับ let's see in this one let me just like specify the change the format of the data a bit here have to make it just like to look easily the date okay this one you can choose what type that you want to show in here okay assume that I use this one okay yeah all right so now นะครับ this is the table นะครับ assume that we say that okay this table is recorded from the computer system นะครับ that we that whenever the customer purchase a product from our department store นะครับ the system นะครับ in for the cashier it will be recorded like this นะครับ and store in the database in this one it consists of the date นะครับ buyer นะครับ or our customer seller is our salesperson นะครับ goods นะครับ the product that they sold price per unit นะครับ quantity and amount that they paid นะครับ come from the multiplication of price per unit and the quantity and the way that our customer pay the money นะครับ in here okay so firstly we will talk about the feature in Microsoft Excel นะครับ that we call it as filtering the data นะครับ or data filtering the thing that you have to know is that okay if I just want to see นะครับ for the customer who purchased by นะครับ who purchased by cash if you don't know anything about filter นะครับ the things that will happen is that you will sort it for sure and then you just like see for any payment that is cash together นะครับ it will be like this you highlight the whole rows นะครับ of the data and then you go to data sorts นะครับ this one you have a look only นะครับ you don't do the one of yourself otherwise you mess up the data okay you say that okay you sort by payment method that is column H use okay and then you know already that oh this one these are like the people who purchase by cash what happened right now you can see that okay all the order of the data is messed up already นะครับ so that's why sometimes if you just like want to know some trivial นะครับ information we don't sort the data like this because if you sort it means that you change the structure of the data permanently okay let me undo first so for me นะครับ sometimes if I really want to sort because I want to do something else the way that I do is that I just like put some running number นะครับ on the first column first so that I if I really sort it already นะครับ later on I know what is the original order and then I can bring it back นะครับ I just like normally do like this I create a new extra column นะครับ and then I just specify that okay this is the order of original table that I have got and then I can sort ครับ if I want to sort I may say that okay I want to sort by นะครับ column H sorry column I already นะครับ for the payment method and after that I may want to know that okay for the catch that Susan hang on that Andrew sold for us นะครับ that Andrew sold for us which one are they then I may say that okay I sort again now by column I that is the catch already I add another level นะครับ I say that I want to sort by seller as well seller is in column D and then I click OK Oh, now I see it already that okay. What Andrew sold for us in catchนะครับ. These are like six um, 6 rows altogetherนะครับ. Now I know the information already, but you can see that let's have a lookนะครับ on my column A it's messed upนะครับ. Totally messed up like all the data that we have got. That's whyนะครับ. Sometimes if you just like want to know some dataนะครับ temporarily we don't just like sort the data like this, except you would like to really sort the data for some specific purposes, then you have to sort itนะครับ. Depends on the application that you want to use. So in this oneนะครับ I'll just like sort it back. I sort it back by column A so that I have like the original order of data. Say that I sort by column A again. This is my original data that I have got. Now, let's see. If we say that we don't want to sort the data, how can we view the same situation that I told you? I want to see what Andrew sold by cat for our customer. What should we do? We have the concept, the feature in Microsoft Excel that we call it as filter. It helps to view the data temporarily as we want. And then we can just like easily disable the filter feature if you don't want it later on. So firstly, how are you gonna filter? First, you have to think first, what are we going to filter? In my example that I told you, I want to filter the payment method and seller, right? And seller. The things that you have to do is that you highlight the columns that you want to filter. Okay, to make it easily, I just like highlight every column that we have got, because sometimes I may want to see the data by date, filter by date, filter by seller, or filter by buyer, or sometimes filter by the payment method. Filter by goods, something like that. So that's why I just like choose all of them. But if you say that okay, most of the time you want to filter by payment method, then you just click just payment method only. That's okay too. In this one, I will just like go to data tab, and then on the right hand side of sort button you see filter, right? You click on filter, then you see all of the columns that are highlighting. They have a small square with the down arrow. This one is called as a filter. Now, all of the highlighted columns are filtered already. Enable the filter feature already. Now you can filter them. So I want to filter payment method that is catch. I click on the small square button, and then you see cash credit cards. Then I choose just catch only. And then I click OK. So you can see that right now the data is filtered already. The data is filtered already. Now I want to know what Andrew sold for us in catch. You go to seller, and then click on the filter button, choose Andrew, and then click OK. Now you can see that we get the Andrew already that that sold the product for us by catch in here. So this is the basic filtering. The things that you do is that when you filter the data already, the structure is not changed. I'll just like talk about the structure later on. Now, the things I want to tell you next is that once you save this file and send the email to your colleagues, and then or someone send the file to you and you see that the data is showing like this, you have to know that okay, right now the filter feature is on. And then if you want to know that what columns they are filtering, the things that I want you to notice is that right now you can see that the column that is seller column and payment method column, the symbol inside are different. Inside the square is different. instead of having the down arrow like other columns, in this one it show as a funnel shape instead. It show as a funnel shape instead. If the funnel shape is showing, it means that that column is filtering. So in this one you see the two different columns with the funnel shape symbol that are seller and payment method. It means that these two columns are filtering. So in this one, if you say that I don't want to see the filter anymore because I mean like my colleague may just like filter for some other purposes, and I don't want to use this filter, these two columns for filtering anymore. You can see that we have a button clear. This is to clear the filter. Once you click clear, it's gone. And you can see that if you have a look on my column A, all the data is still like in its original order. Okay, there's no changing at all. So that's why most of the time, if you just like want to do something temporarily, we just use the filter instead of sorting. This is the filter that you have to know. It will be useful for you because in the future, if you say that I want to know that how many or what transactions that are related to selling toys, you just choose from goods and then you just see toys in here. Okay, and then you can just like see like what the customer purchased from us. What records or transaction that customer purchased toy from us. Just a little bit more that will be very useful for you is that Excel has the quick look of the data as well. In this one, when you filter the data already, if you want to know the amount paid the total amount that customer purchased toy from us, it's easy. You don't need to just like write the function sum or just like put plus in one cell to add all of these cells together. The way to do to have a quick look is that you just highlight the value or the cells that you want to know and just notice this one the bottom right corner, sorry, the lowest line of the Excel screen. You see count and sum, right? Count means that it tells us how many records are there. Sum is that how many or how much is this amount paid. Summary. This one, you can see that there are 9 transactions altogether. The sum is 9,050. Okay, so this is a quick look of the data. It will be very useful for you. Okay, right. Okay. So up to this point, do you have any questions about the filtering? Okay. So if you don't have any question I'll clear the data first. Okay. Now you can leave this filter or filter on like this even though you don't just like filter anything, but you can leave it on. All right. After we talk about the filter already, what else that we have to know about the filtering? For the filter, apart from this one, we have couple of functions. So apart from the filter feature in Microsoft Excel, what else do we have to learn? The next thing that we have to learn are like functions that we need to know in the in related to this data. We have like 4 different functions that we have to learn. So there are some if s, count if s, and some product. These are like 5 functions that will be very useful for us in order to just like make use of this data. Let's talk about the group of the sum if s first. What are they? When we study for the sum function before, the sum function is the function that we use in order to okay, let me hide the original column A first. Okay. So the sum function is the function that we use to add the values นะครับ but whenever you use the sum function it adds all the value นะครับ that you specify in the range นะครับ to sum but sometimes you have some condition to consider before you sum those values นะครับ for example suppose that you will sum it นะครับ if the product is toys that means you start having the condition before you sum already. If you don't have any ideas about that somebody may say, oh, we know that we have the knowledge from filter already. I just like filter the goods that is toy first, and then I just start summing the amount paid like this. That is one way to do. But what if you say that, okay, there are lots of data, and then you have some condition that you want to sum. For example, you want to sum only when the amount paid is more than 1,000 only. You can see that right now filter cannot help you anymore. That's why you need to know another function to help. So now we will learn about a function that we call it as sum if and sum if s. Sum if and sum if s. The difference is that when you say that we have when you have many conditions, we use sum if s. But if you have just like one condition only, you use just a sum if. For example, in here, suppose we would like to find the quantity of these products that we sold in our company. We want to know number of books, number of food, toys, and movie DVD records in our data here. What should we do? That means, okay, you have to see first. In order to know about the quantity, okay, let me hide this one. Okay. If you want to know the quantity, we have to just like use this column to help. Okay, find from this quantity. Okay, so for the book, if you want to know how many books that we sold, basically you filter book and then you see, oh, the answer must be 7. In here 5 plus 2. Just like we try to do the same thing with other product. But now we will talk about the sum if function. Sum if function is a sum with the condition that we have got. Let me just like talk about sum if function first before we start finding this quantity of the book of these products in here. So we just type sum if in the function builder box. This is sum if. Sum if consists of 3 arguments that are range, criteria, and sum range. Sum if will add the sales specified by a given conditions or criteria. So in here range means that, okay, what is a table that consists of like all the data that we have got. All the data that we have got in here. Let's see. In this one, okay, let's see. For the sum if, okay, let's see. The range means that where are the sales that stored the value that we are considering. For example, if we want to find the book books are located in column E. So our range in here that we have to specify that is E2 to E26 that is range. Criteria. While criteria is just like the condition that you have to specify. It can be in form of number, in form of expression, in form of text. You can put in the criteria. For example, if you say that, okay, criteria here, you want to find any rows that has the value book, then the criteria, you just enter book as a text in there. Or in this case, I'll use the reference C37. for the criteria here. And some range is the real values that you would like to sum. Where are they located? In here, it's in column H. For my one, it will be column, it will be H2 to H26. Okay, now let's see. I will just like find the book, number of book first. In this one, we find the quantity. Range where the book can be found is column E. I specify E2 to E26. Criteria is a book. I use reference in C37, and some range is number is the quantity. It's in G2 to G26. In here, you can see that it shows 7. Same number as we just like filter before. In this one, range means the range where the value you are comparing is like should be located. Now it's E2 to E26. Criteria is the value that you want to search in the specified range from E2 to E26. And some range are the value that we just like want to really sum them in the same row where you find that value in the specific criteria. Okay, in here it shows 7. And now if I copy for food, toys, and movie DVD, it will be like this. Okay, let me just copy the formula for you. Now let's see. If we just like try to have a look, if we try to have a look on food, let's say it said 31. Now if I filter, let's see whether I get 31 or not. Okay, in here. Okay, now let's see for the food. I will filter the food and see how many items. For the food, it's here. For the quantity, when I have quick look, it is 37 books sold. Yeah, 31 books sold. Now let me check for toys. Toys in here, it said 23. Yeah. Some here is 23 as well. Yeah, that is correct one. And the last one, movie DVD. It's 16. Hang on. Movie DVD here. Oh, in here it shows 16 while the answer shows 18. What's going on? In this one, you have to be careful because when I copy this formula down, I forget to lock the cell. That's why it will be moving down one row like this for every time that I just like copy. Then I have to lock the cell first. I forgot to lock the cell. Okay. Okay, it's changed already. Now let me just update the formula for you. It must be like this. Okay. Right. Okay. This is the sum if that you can see the example that we get the data. Okay. So just do one thing for me. I want you to find for me. Can you find how much did Susan sell? Okay, I give you 2 minutes, everyone. I want you to find how much did Susan sell. So if you get the answer already, just type the formula and number of and the amount of money that Susan sell for us, please. 2 minutes นะครับ Anyone get the answer yet? How much did Susan sell ครับ Okay, ธนพล said that it's 120. Okay, what about the rest of you ครับ Do you get the answer yet? Okay, Nadanai, please show us how much did Susan sell as well นะครับ apart from your formula. 1,698 dollars. All right, time's up นะครับ Okay, now let's see นะครับ How do you gonna find the answer นะครับ For anyone who finished already นะครับ you can still like type your formula and answer in the chat box นะครับ Okay, in here you are asked to find how much did someone sell นะครับ That means we want to know amount paid นะครับ We want to know amount paid นะครับ Not price per unit not quantity นะครับ Amount paid because we ask for the money ครับ Now let's see we have to specify นะครับ the column that is seller นะครับ and we have to specify Susan and then we just like want to sum the amount paid นะครับ so in here we just like do the sum if function นะครับ in here the range that we have to specify is the range of the seller นะครับ in here criteria in here is Susan and the value that we want to really sum is the amount paid so sum if will pick just only the cell นะครับ that match with Susan and you can see that in this example นะครับ the formula result is showing 1,698 นะครับ so this is like how do we gonna just like find the amount of money where Susan sold for us ครับ this is like what we do ครับ this is what we do ครับ I just change to be the referencing instead from Susan like this. I refer to the cell above. Okay, it's 1,698 นะครับ Anyone who want to use the referencing, it can be like this ครับ Okay, the same นะครับ we get the result of Susan นะครับ as we want. Okay, any question for this example ครับ anyone? All right. If no นะครับ now let's see. The next function that we have to learn is about sum if s. Sometimes we have more than one condition that we want to know นะครับ For example, we want to know that okay, the amount of the products นะครับ that sold by a specific seller นะครับ For example, in here if I want to find นะครับ if I want to find the total amount of food นะครับ sold by Andrew you can see that in this example นะครับ you cannot use just the sum if anymore because for sum if we can have just one condition only นะครับ for finding the matching value but in this one you have two matching conditions that are that are the name of the product and the name of a person of the seller as well. That's why in this one you have to use another function that is sum if s, that is the extension version of the sum if instead. In this one, how can we find or how can we use sum if s? Okay, so in this one, we just like go to function builder and type sum if s first. Let me explain to you how sum if s work. Sum if s will add a cell specified by a given range of condition and criteria. But in sum if s, the order of the argument is switched from the previous sum if, and also it has like some additional argument that comes up. In this one, it has some range, comma criteria range, comma criteria, comma dot dot dot. In this one, sum range means the value that you really want to sum. Where are they located? In this one, if you have a look in this example, the sum value is in amount paid because we want to know the amount paid, right? Next on, let's continue on the next arguments. The next argument is sum if s, criteria range and criteria. Criteria range means that the value or the column where the criteria that you want to search for might be located. In this one, we want to find food. Food is in goods, it is in column goods. So that means the criteria range is in column E. Let's say in this example, it might be from E2 to E26. While criteria is the value that you want to match with the goods. In this example, it's food. Let's say you just type food or you refer to value. Let's store the value food. That is the first criteria. The next one, comma dot dot dot, means that if you have like more criteria, you specify criteria range first and followed by the criteria. You say that, okay, in this one, we want to find the product, the food that is sold by Andrew, let's say. Then the things that you have to do is that for the criteria range 2, you just specify the seller in D2 to D26. And criteria is Andrew. Just that. Okay. Now, let me just like begin with the sum if s that we have to use in this one. Okay. So in this one, I just specify that, okay, sum if s function first. The sum range, I want to sum, in this one, say that total amount, it's amount paid. Here. Criteria range 1 is food. It's located in goods column, E2 to E26. And criteria 1 is food, double quote, food in here. Okay. Now, we move on to criteria range 2. That is the name of the seller. So I just like choose seller, D2 to D26. And criteria range 2 say that food sold by Andrew. Then you type Andrew, double quote, Andrew, as a seller. In this one, you can see that we have $1,080 for food that is sold by Andrew. Food that is sold by Andrew. In this one, if you have more than 2 criteria, you can just like add some more. If you just like scroll down, you can see criteria range 3 and criteria 3 and add as many as you want for the criteria. Now I'm ending with these 2 criteria and it's enough. You can see that right now the answer is showing that Andrew sold food for $1,080. This is like the example for the sum if s that we have got. Okay. Any question for this example, anyone?
Wait, John, just now my internet got disconnected for like a while when you did the example for what if. So can you recap what if again a bit?
The sum if s example, right?
Yeah, what ifs. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, for sum if s, is the function to sum some a specific value where you have like more than one criteria. Okay, for the sum if you you just like sum when you had just one criteria only. For example, type of product that you have got, if you remember. But for the sum if s, when you in this example you have to sum the amount of money, but you have two conditions to test first. The first one is the type of the product must be food. Second one, the seller must be Andrew. So when you have the two conditions like this, you have to use sum if s to help. When you use sum if s, the way the things that you need to have is that for sum if s function, the argument for the sum if s is a bit different from the sum if, because sum if you begin with the range and criteria, and then you end up with the value that you want to sum. But for sum if s, you add, you start with the first range of the value that you want to sum first. For example, in here, if it is the amount paid, it is in column H. Then I start with column H first. After that, criteria range and criteria here. Criteria range and criteria is just like one criteria only. For the criteria range, for example, if you want to say that, okay, amount of food sold. Food is the first criteria of yours. It's the name of the product. Then you have to begin with column E, E2 to E26, that is criteria range, and criteria is food, something like this. While the next criteria, that is the name of the person, the name of the seller in here. It's specified as a seller in column D. Then you specify D2 to D26 because there will be the range that you may be able to find the name of the seller. And then criteria 2 is Andrew. According to the problem, we want to find the product. We want to find the sum of the amount that for the food that is sold by Andrew. Then you enter Andrew. If you have more than 2 criteria, you can scroll down and add third criteria, fourth, fifth, as many as you want in here. So we have just 2 criteria only. Then I just specify criteria range 1 and criteria 1, criteria range 2 and criteria 2, and then I stop. In this one, you can see that it's just like $1,080 for the food that is sold by Andrew. Okay, then I just click OK here. Okay, right. Okay, then any other questions about this example? All right. If you don't have any question, just do one example for me, please. I want you to find out the total amount that Mr. Smith bought toys and paid by credit cards. I give you 3 minutes, everyone. Find the total amount that Mr. Smith bought toys by using credit card. By using credit cards. 3 minutes, please. If you get the answer already, please type your formula and the total amount in the chat box, please. In here, the things we do is that we just go to the sum if s because we want to get like total amount with 3 criteria. So I use sum if s. For anyone who just like finished already, just like send us the formula and the answer in the chat box. Sorry, we have to use sum if s. So the sum range is amount paid. Criteria 1 is the Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith is our buyer. We just put the range, criteria range. First one is C2 to C26, and you just type Mr. Smith. Okay. Criteria range 2. He bought toys. Toys is in good column, column E, E2 to E26, and then you just type double quote toys and the last criteria นะครับ he purchased by credit cards นะครับ so purchasing method is the payment method here นะครับ it's in column I2 to I26 นะครับ and then the criteria 3 is credit card in here so you can see that in here นะครับ the answer is showing us for $500 นะครับ for what Mr. Smith bought toys with us นะครับ and paid by credit cards okay yeah this is what like some of you just show us the answer already นะครับ from Thanayut and Thanapon yeah this is what we do yeah okay so now let's check นะครับ in order to check I'll use the filter to help I said that I want to know what Mr. Smith who is buyer นะครับ then I just like filter the name of the buyer purchase toys นะครับ I filter goods toys and paid by credit card there's just one transaction only that is 500 yeah so the answer is 500 that is the correct one ครับ okay right okay then for some if s do you have any questions okay. Oh by the way นะครับ if you don't want the filter นะครับ button to be shown anymore the things that you have to do is that you highlight oh hang on you don't need to highlight you just click นะครับ in the data tab you just click filter out and then it's just like clear out all of the filter buttons or the value that you filter before for example in here if I just highlight them and then I just filter by buyer that is Mr. Smith purchase toys okay in here by credit card if you just like disable นะครับ filter everything is gone as well นะครับ like this so it's up to you นะครับ how do you gonna leave this filter on or if you would like to just like disable it okay we work like this